So any queries related with the previous chapter from trade to territory? Any questions? Any questions? Next chapter is a ruling countryside. Ruling countryside. Next chapter, third chapter is the ruling countryside. So any of the questions, any queries associated with the second chapter, first chapter? So let's continue. The ruling countryside. Ruling countryside. So after, when the Britishers, they became as the Diwans of Bengal, they got the Diwani rights of Bengal from the Mughal emperor. From Mughal emperor, Britishers got the Diwani rights. Yes, Abdi? Which Mughal emperor given as a Diwani rights to the Britishers? Abdi? Shah Alam. Shah Alam in 17, very good. Thank you, Jabji. Shah Alam in 1765, given the Diwani rights, it declared the Britishers as the Diwan of Bengal. Because in 1764, when the Battle of Buxar, it was occur, afterwards the Mir Qasim expelled from Bengal. Mir Qasim expelled from Bengal, and the Mir Jafar, it died in 1765. It died in 1765. Afterwards, those Britishers which were used as a Diwani rights, now they became as the administrators. Britishers, English East India Company or Britishers, they became the emperors of Bengal, which was the largest province of colonial India. Bengal was the largest province of colonial India. Province word used for such number of territories or states which were earlier indirectly, but later in stage as directly administered by the Britishers. Provinces. Presidencies were the cities which were developed by the Britishers. Presidencies were the cities developed by Britishers. Provinces were those areas which annexed in a British Empire from the Indian leaders, and princely states were those which were ruled and administered by the kings and queens. Kings and queens. So those territories which were ruled by the kings and queens are known as the princely states. Yes, Pragati, paramountcy. Paramountcy was a fourth policy opted by the Britishers for an expansion of a British Empire. Expansion of British Empire, in which those number of Indian states, those which were annexed in British Empire without any opposition, but still some of the states which were not accepted the sovereignty, supremacy of a Britishers, under such circumstances, their territories forcefully occupied by Britishers. That policy was a paramountcy. In a policy of a paramountcy, the Kittur of Karnataka annexed in British Empire. Kittur, K-I-T-T-O-R. Clear? So any questions related with the second chapter? Any questions related with the second chapter? Now we just begin as a ruling countryside. Afterwards, when the Britishers, they became as the Diwans of Bengal, they started to change their policies. Earlier, those policies which were regarding of the administration, now they started to change their policies towards the economic. Political policies change into as the economic policies. Now Britishers tried to gain the maximum from the Indian subcontinent, for which they moved towards the agriculture. They took the number of changes in agriculture. Britishers thought that through the agriculture, they can complete their needs. For this, they started to improve the agricultural pattern, in which the first they started as the land revenue settlements. They introduced the land revenue settlements, in which the first as a permanent settlement system. Permanent settlement system introduced by the Lord Cornwallis. Lord Cornwallis or Charles Cornwallis, which introduced as a permanent settlement system in 1793. In 1793. So with the name is clear, permanent land, it was given to the landlords, zamindars, on a permanent basis. On a permanent basis, land given to the zamindars for collection of revenue from farmers, collection of revenue from farmers, and such zamindars responsible to pay revenue on company, to pay revenue to the company. This implementation of a permanent settlement system introduced the newer concept of a sunset law. Britishers introduced the sunset law. Britishers introduced the sunset law. Sunset law. According to the sunset law, according to sunset law, those Indian zamindars, those zamindars or landlords, fail to deposit the amount of revenue. According to the sunset law, those zamindars who fail to deposit amount of revenue on a fixed day, on the prior fixed day, earlier as a that day which was decided by the company or the zamindar, that fixed day, their land rights take over and given to the some other zamindars. Given to some other zamindars means एक दिन सेट कर लिया on that particular day. For example, if the day is the 31st of August, 31st of August is the day on which as a zamindar will pay the revenue. Under such circumstances, if the zamindar landlord fail to deposit revenue on time till the sunset of the 31st of August, under such circumstances, their land rights will take over. Their land rights means their property, it will be as a seize, it will be handled by the company and given to the some other zamindars. Given to some other zamindars. This is known as the sunset law. With the sunset of the day on that particular previous decided day, if a zamindar failed to pay the revenue on time, under such circumstances, company collected the land rights from that zamindar and given to the other. So in a permanent settlement system or a zamindari system, land revenue was fixed. Land revenue, it was as the fixed. So what were the key features of a permanent settlement system? Land revenue was fixed. It was not to be increased in the future. It was not to be increased in future. Second one, due to the fixed revenue, zamindars, they can earn land revenue. It was as the fixed for the company, fixed for the zamindars on which they will pay to the company. But they can either collect as a more revenue from the farmers. So it was a beneficial for the fixed revenue, beneficial for zamindars to which they can earn more profits. They can earn more profits. Third, due to as a permanent nature of a land revenue, rights, zamindars took the possible changes in agricultural fields. They opted the possible methods through which they increase the fertility of our soils, because if the more production means more revenue they can collect. They can increase the production from agricultural fields, by land reforms, Fourth one, zamindars invest to improve fertility and production from agricultural fields. They invest their money for the improvement of agricultural fields and their fertility. So these were the features. Drawbacks, the demerits of a permanent settlement system. So as according to the revenue was a fix, zamindars bound to pay the revenue on time. Zamindars bound to pay revenue on time. Zamindars they bound to pay revenue on time. Under such circumstances of the disasters, they forced to pay revenue. If the disaster has ruined the crop, then if the crop is not produced, farmer not earned a profit, how can it will pay the revenue? Under such circumstances, zamindars paid revenue from their own side. Zamindars paid revenue from their own sides. Second, during the uncertain time of a rainfall, uncertainty of the monsoons, it adversely impact on a production. So under such circumstances, zamindars paid revenue from their side. Under such circumstances, when the crop has not produced, under such circumstances, the revenue paid to company by the zamindar from their own side. Clear? Third, company, it could not increase the revenue. On demand because it permanently fixed. Fourth, most number of zamindars, they didn't take changes in improvements of land, because land rights are permanently given to them. Because land rights permanently given to the zamindars, they were not took any kind of changes in agricultural fields. Clear? Afterwards, the Britishers, English East India Company, it initiated the second settlement system, which is known as the Mahalwadi system. Mahalwadi system. Mahalwadi system. Permanent settlement system introduced by Lord Cornwallis. Mahalwadi system introduced by the Halt Mackenzie. 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 One more thing related with the permanent settlement system. Permanent settlement system implemented on Bengal. Permanent settlement system introduced on Bengal, whereas the Mahalwadi system introduced in northwestern provinces of Bengal. Uttar Pradesh, northwestern provinces of Bengal and Uttar Pradesh. This system introduced in 1822 by the Halt Mackenzie. Permanent settlement system means land permanently given to the landlords for collection of revenue. But in a Mahalwadi system, Mahalwadi system. Mahalwadi system. Land revenue fixed differently for a different villages. Land revenue fixed for a different villages as separately. In 1822, Hart McKenzie, MACKENZIE, it initiated the Mahalwadi system in 1822 in a parts of a northwestern provinces of Bengal and Uttar Pradesh, in which the land revenue fixed separately for a different villages. For different villages. So in a Mahalwadi system, Britishers they fixed the revenue in a different years separately. What were the features of Mahalwadi system? What were the features of Mahalwadi system? First, land revenue set on the basis of a fertility of land. Land revenues fixed on the basis of fertility of land. Fertility of land. Second, land revenue collected on the basis of the size of fields. Land revenue decided on the basis of the size of agricultural fields. Revenue set on the basis of size of agricultural fields. Third, agricultural fields as per the land revenue decided on a productivity. As per the revenue decided on the productivity of a land, farmers were not bound to pay. Those farmers which belong from the less fertile areas, they were not bound to pay revenue as equivalent to the more fertile lands. Now the demerits, as we discussed, land revenue was decided as the change on a periodically. It was as a revised in a different time periods. It leads to the corruption. Change in a land revenue, it leads corruption among company officials. Second, so land which was as not the permanently given to the landlords, so they didn't care about the productivity. Zamindars do not emphasis over the changes in agricultural fields. Do not take the changes in agricultural fields. Clear? Next, third, Munro system. Rayotwadi system or Munro system. Rayotwadi system, which was introduced by the Thomas Munro. Rayotwadi system introduced by the Thomas Munro, in which Rayots means cultivators. Rayots means cultivators were directly answerable to the company. They directly paid revenue to the company. Cultivators directly paid revenue to the company. The merits, what were the features of a Munro system? Land revenue differently decided on the basis of the surveys, on the basis of the assessment of land and surveys. Revenue decided separately for different lands on the basis of assessment of land. on the basis of assessment of land and surveying. Second, surveying. Second, earlier those zamindars which work for the beneficial of a farmers, now company officials, they started exploit directly. English East India Company, their officials directly exploit the farmers by collection of more revenue. By collection of more revenue, they exploited farmers. Third, those zamindars which lended the money to the farmers for production, now such facility not given to the facility of a loans, facility of credit not available for farmers, not available for farmers. Now demerits of a Monroe system. It increased the corruption. It increased the possibilities of a corruption among company. Monroe system increased the possibilities of corruption among company officials, because now they directly collected the revenue from farmers. Revenue from farmers, which was as the uncertain. They collected revenue as according to their will. Second, most of the times peasants were unable to pay revenue on time. Most of the times peasants were unable to pay revenue on time to the company. Under such circumstances, their land captured by the company officials, land occupied by company officials, or either farmers face debt trap. Farmers face debt trap. DEBT-TRAP. Debt trap. Debt trap is a situation. Debt trap is a situation. Debt trap. It is a situation in which farmers paid revenue by selling of their some portion of agricultural field, or borrowed loans from other moneylenders. Borrowed loans on interest rate from moneylenders. That condition was a debt trap, because throughout their life they can't free themselves from the cycle of loans. From the second source they borrowed a loan, pay to the first source, then third source towards the second source, or either they sold some part of their agriculture fields for the repayment of the loans and revenue. Repayment of revenue, or sell their agriculture fields to the other moneylenders. Still there any questions? Yes, Ritesh. Till there any questions? Yes, Japji. Zamindars permanently appointed by the company, but in a Mahalwadi system, the such headmen, they were only responsible for collection of a revenue and paid to the company. They were responsible for different villages. Different villages had their different headmen, representatives, which collected revenue from farmers and paid to the company. Clear? paid to companies. So these three revenue systems introduced in a British age. One more system was there, Ijadari system. Ijadari system. It was as introduced in a at the early phase of 17th century. Ijadari system, in which the land given to the landlords for the period of the 5 years. For the period of 5 years. After the completion of the 5 years, it was depend upon a will of a company. They wish to continue that particular zamindar or not. Ijadari system. In Ijadari system, the Ijadas, landlords, they were responsible for a production and collection of a revenue. But such rights were given to them for the period of 5 years. In permanent settlement system, permanently. In a Ryotwadi system, in a Mahalwadi system, land, it was as the land revenue collected the basis of the fertility of a land, whereas the headman is responsible for collection. In any of a state, when the company decided, it can be as a change the headman for collection of revenue. But in a Ryotwadi system, land revenue decided for the next 20 years. Afterwards, 20 years, Britishers, they changed. Company changed as the debt representative, which will be as a collect the revenue. Clear? Now, afterwards, next as in Europe at that time, the Indian clothes were the high demanded. So, which of the Indian clothes high demanded in a European countries? First, kalamkari. Second, bandhana. Bandhana, it was kind of a scarf which mostly wore by the women at their neck in Europe. Bandhana, B-A-N-D-H-A-N-A. Bandhana, kalamkari, K-A-L-A-M-K-A-R-I. Kalamkari, bandhana. And third, calico, C-A-L-I-C-O, calico. And fourth, chintz, C-H-I-N-T-Z. C-H-I-N-T-Z. So these kinds of clothes were the high demanded in European countries. These were high demanded in European countries. These were the goods which were manufactured on the basis of a cotton. And Britishers, they were familiar that India's tropical climatic conditions favorable for the production of indigo. Ritesh, can you tell me any three of the states of India which lies in tropical areas? Any three states of India which lies under the tropical areas of India? No? Jayant, answer. Any three states in India which are lies under the tropical regions? Jayant Khajuria. Who will answer? These areas which lie south of the Tropic of Cancer: Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, half of the Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, West Bengal, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Goa, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. These are lies in the south of a Tropic of Cancer. These are tropical areas which lies in above of Tropic of Cancer are the subtropical regions. Subtropical regions means Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, J&K, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh are lies under the subtropical regions. Assam, Meghalaya, subtropical regions, because these are lies in above of Tropic of Cancer. Above of Tropic of Cancer. Clear? The tropical climatic conditions of India favorable for a production of indigo and cotton, which was high demanded in European countries. Cotton and indigo demanded at a larger in number in European countries. To earn more profits, Britishers, they emphasized over the commercialization of agriculture. Britishers introduced the commercialization of agriculture. When we produce crops not for the self needs, not for the subsistence, when we produce the crops for the profits, when we produce crops to earn more profits, is known as they are known as the commercial crops. For example, at that time, the cotton and indigo, these were the high demanded in the European countries. Because of their high demand, Britishers, they forced Indians to produce the cotton and indigo. Cotton and indigo. Because there was another dye which was produced in Europe, which was named as a woad. W-O-A-D. Woad, a kind of a dye produced in a temperate areas of Europe. It's having as a light texture, light in color. So such kind of a dye or a color not suitable for a cotton textiles, Britishers demanded as a darker texture. It can be as only possible to the indigo. But most number of the farmers in India, they reluctant, they refuse to produce the indigo. Reason because once the production of indigo, land it became as the barren. Land not capable for a production for a next year. Clear? Land it was not capable for production in a next year. That's why the farmers, they refuse to produce the indigo. Till there any doubts?